Okay, not a licensed physician, not giving medical advice, not that this is exactly medical advice. Um, yeah, and really, you should not do this. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say what you should or you shouldn't do, and I'm going to give a disclaimer that obviously this stuff is not perfect. These are at-home tests to determine, well, to narrow down the possible identities of a molecule which you have received from a source that you don't necessarily trust. Who knows, maybe you got it from Pfizer, but you don't trust Pfizer. Maybe you got it from Joe Schmo with his hoe on the corner, and you don't trust it. I don't know. Point is, you can do some stuff to ensure that you are more likely to increase the odds that you, it's not even that, to have more certainty in what you have. Number one, and don't come at me saying this is not scientific, use your eyes. If there is an animal in front of you and someone asks you, is that a dog or a cat? You look at it and you go, that's a dog, or that's a cat. You don't need to do a DNA test. Oh, that's a man, that's a woman, yeah, that's the common one. No, like, oh, you can't see. You can say. It's just like if you receive, I don't want to grab, if someone hands you this onion, this is a good onion. It's nice and purple, it's homegrown, I bought it from some old guy on the street. Someone hands you this onion and it says it's Anavar. You got to use your eyes and go, that's not Anavar. Someone might tell you that that's not an accurate test, but that's a pretty damn accurate test. You receive a brown powder and someone tells you that's Anavar. It's not Anavar. Anavar should be a clear, crystalline substance. If there's a lot of it, it looks white. But, you know, it's like you got some salt. I don't have salt to show you. But it's clear, but you got a lot. Like, if it's in a container, it looks white, because, you know, it's all together and it looks white. For example, like Anavar, clear crystalline substance. Turinabol, similar to Anavar, but oftentimes slightly smaller crystals, not clear, has a tint of chlorine. I wonder why. So it has a slight yellow-green tint. You can notice it, though. Dianabol, like kind of fluffy white powder, not crystalline. Winstrol, kind of fluffy white powder, not crystalline. You could mix it up with your Dianabol. Anadrol, kind of white fluffy powder. You can mix it up with your Dianabol and your Winstrol. So, yeah, it's not a perfect test, but at least if you order Anavar and you get a fluffy white powder, you can go, that's not Anavar. Or you order Anadrol and they send you tinted green crystals, you go, oh, that's not Anadrol. Testosterone enanthate, white crystalline powder that melts in your hands, and it can turn yellowish green over time. A lot of the esterified steroids can melt at low temperatures. Learn the appearance of the substances. That's no equipment required test. The second thing you can do, a little more stuff required, but you can do it. Look up the solubility information on the particular molecule. Perhaps look it up for things that someone might have sold you instead of that particular molecule. Now, subject your powder to the solvents that you know the information for. If it is not soluble in water, but you put it in water and it all dissolves, it's not the stuff you just read about. Pretty straightforward. I don't think I need to explain more. Now, what's the next step? region tests. I don't know about these. I think Dave Palumbo has some website where he sells them. You can get these chemical indicators, which can indicate the presence of certain functional groups of the molecule. Um, I don't know about his in particular, but they could also indicate the presence of like a larger part of the structure. But it's not like they actually identify the particular molecule. They just identify traits. So you can have false positive. You can't have false negative if the indicators are, not just randomly like, oh, this should turn blue if it's Anavar. But no one ever tested it. Like, you can't just pick some random chemical and say, yeah, you mix this beer with your Anavar, it will turn purple. Oh, it didn't turn purple. It's like we haven't even tested that. We don't know what color it turns when it's mixed with Anavar. But for normal indicators which have been researched, we do know what colors they turn for certain things. So you can have false positives, but you can't really have false negatives. So you don't actually know what you have, but you have a better idea. The next step, which is extremely accurate, is the melting point test. Now, you can improvise. I'm not going to get into improvisation. I don't know. My English keeps getting worse and worse the longer I am in beautiful Belarus with the amazing weather. Yeah, you don't need to sweat and get all wet and sticky here. I still do, but less. So you can try to figure out how to improvise, but the best thing is you buy an actual melting point device. It's going to cost you some money, and you buy can't remember if they're called, no, they're not capillary tubes. I forget the official name. Something IOL tubes. But they only have a hole on one side, whereas capillary tubes are tubes. These are like little glass rods with a hole on one side, so you can put it on top of your stuff, get it to go in that hole, and then you put it in your device, and you watch for when it melts. The more pure substances, the more concise the melting point is. The more impure, the more it's drawn out. But if you get something that melts right at the temperature it should melt at, plus or minus a couple degrees, that's most likely that substance. Of course, you got to know how to use a melting point device. You don't have to be Einstein to figure this out, but if you look at how they work, you would realize that if you crank up the heat to the hottest setting, it's going to heat up the device faster than it heats up your substance, so you're going to read the wrong temperature. So, good idea is you look up the temperature that it should melt at, and you go kind of near that, but below it. Above it wouldn't make too much sense. You go kind of near it, but below, then you turn down the heating and make it so it's just going to slowly creep up. And then you wait as it slowly creeps up and you find that melting point. That is the at-home gold standard for determining the identity of your compound. Now, I don't recommend you do any of this. It's a really good way to determine what you have. You're really not going to make many mistakes. You'll get some moron out there that's going to go, well, someone can find something that's going to melt at the same temperature. That's really unlikely. You think that someone who runs a business and is trying to scam people is going to spend all that time to fake the melting point test for that one person who does it occasionally? No. They're going to get some salt for $1 a kilo and sell it to you. Now, they're not going to get salt because if you tasted it, you go, this is salt. But they might get some just random thing. They're not going to go through the trouble of finding some rare substance that costs more money, plus you got to somehow find this thing. It's not like you just type in Google, substance with melting point at this. I don't know, I've never tried it, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to find a list of substances. Yeah. I don't think anyone's trying to fake the melting point test. I'm sure there's somebody somewhere trying to fake the melting point test. But yeah, it's not something to really worry about, in my opinion. Maybe I am stupid. Maybe I don't realize how humans think, how humans work, how the world works. Everyone's actually like, somebody's going to do that melting point test. I want to make sure that one person will get a false result. I'm going to put all this time and energy and money into faking that result. Probably somebody out there somewhere doing that, but I think most people aren't doing that. Hope you like this video. Hope it helps you out. What else to say? Check out my video of me doing capillary measurements. I don't go over the calculations in the video. The calculations are in the description. I'm not saying they're accurate, but I do know for sure that I am leaner than I appear, especially on camera. I just got some sort of water retention thick skin thing where I look like a fat thing. I don't know the rules of YouTube. I hope someday this video can get monetized. Yeah, I do actually care about money. It's not the number one reason why I make these videos, but if I can make some money from them, that's pretty awesome. So I'm not going to say that I look like a fat... I don't know, maybe you can guess my words. Maybe you're a lip reader. If you can, write them in the comments. Fat. Yeah, I know that I do not look 8% body fat, but the capillaries, they say I'm 8% body fat. And, I'm really not that fat. But the capillaries did not measure my fat down here where I store the most fat. So I do think I'm higher than 8%. But I'm, I don't know, some people probably say, dude, you look like you're 16, 17, 18, 19, 20% body fat. I'm not 16% body fat. You could probably guess by the fact that you can kind of see my abs, despite the hair and everything. And no, I'm not flexing, it's just as I talk, they get slightly tighter. That's flexing. This is completely relaxed. And you can still kind of... To be honest, that's hair right there. But there is also a line underneath it, but you can see the other lines where there's not hair. I'm not fat. But I certainly don't look lean on camera.